Hey everybody, this is your boy Chris from 2L Tech, and today we are going to be discussing how do you configure an interface on Ubuntu Server. Um, this is going to be a pretty straightforward video. We're just going to focus on a single interface. We're not going to go into bridging or bonding, or in other words, ether channeling. So we're just going to look at how to configure an interface, how to put an IP address, how to put a name server, and all the things that go around editing the file and doing some of the commands. Okay, so we're going to begin right off the bat by logging into our system. Okay, boom. Now, first things first, we got to know what the IP address or what the interfaces are for our system, correct? So in order for us to find that out, we're going to issue the command if config, and it's going to give us a printout of all the interfaces that we have that are active. Okay, and on this system we have two interfaces that are active: our ENS3, which is our physical Ethernet link, and our LO, which is our local loopback link, and um, that's for all intents and purposes, it's just a test interface. And that really is just going to let you know that the interface that you have locally works properly. In the event that your physical interface doesn't work, the local loopback is there to test, to make sure, to just to give you an indication that that interface, your physical interface, may not be working properly. You may need to replace it. Okay, so first things first, if you'll notice that the ENS3 interface has an INET, or an IP address, of 172.16.100.209, and it has a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Okay, and that basically is, this is my address. It has an IPv6 address, a local loopback. I'm sorry, a link local address for that, and it provides you the MAC address for it, right? On your local loopback, you also have um, your IP address on it, which is 127.0.0.1. Now, um, if you guys recall, if you saw the last video on hardening your Linux system, your Ubuntu system, I referenced this interface and the specific IP address in the deny host application, when we were talking about allowing a host in order uh, for the application not to ban the local loopback. And I was referring to this interface for it. Okay. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. What if you wanted to configure the interface without hard setting it? Like you're just testing it, because maybe you got the wrong IP address, or you're just trying to troubleshoot. How do you just configure an IP address with on the fly to the system? And the way you do that is simply by performing the command sudo if config. You're going to identify the interface, ENS3, and now you're going to add the IP address. I'm going to change the IP address from 209 to 50. So 172.16.100.50. Now I'm going to identify the subnet mask, the net mask. The net mask is 255.255.255.0. Okay? It's going to ask me for my password, and we're going to type it in. Done. Okay, so now let's check what do we got going on. If config, boom, now you see it, 172.16.100.50. I changed it, right? So now that we changed the IP address, we also may want to change the default gateway. How do we initiate that? So the way, first we're going to check, just so you can see what the routes currently are on the system, right? In order to do that, we're going to type in the command route -n, and it's going to show you the routes that it has. So 172.100, the gateway is anything. So let's change that. Okay. In order to change that, we're going to issue the command um, sudo route add, and it's the default route. So we're going to do default. Now it's going to be a gateway. So we're going to type in GW, and we're going to type in the address. So it's going to be 172.16.100.1, and then we're going to identify the interface. So why do we identify the interface? We identify the interface because you may have additional interfaces on your system. So it is a good practice to make sure that you identify what gateway this is for what specific interface. And the reason being is because you may have other interfaces that have other IP address or other networks on there, and they might need a default gateway as well. So this is just identifying it. And then done. So now let's check. Route dash N, bingo. Now we have it, right? 172.16.100.0, and the gate I'm sorry, the destination is anything to 172.16.100.1. So anything being anything generally on within our local network, okay? That we're on, that interface is on. So what if we're done with it? Now we want to go back to the other, to the way everything was. So in order for us to do that, we're going to type in sudo IP adder flush, and then we're going to identify the interface we want to flush, ENS3. Enter. Done. So let's check if config. It doesn't have an address now, right? Now let's do route dash n. No, there's no gateways. You're saying, holy crap, Chris, what happened? Where's my IP address? What's going on? So let's get our IP address, shall we? From our DHCP server. In order for you to do that, we're going to shut down the interface. Sudo if, right? And we're going to say down, and then we're going to, and then the network, the interface, ENS3. So now it's going to shut down the interface, right? Boom. And it's a graceful shutdown. So you see all these other messages. If it had an IP address, it would release the IP address. It would send a message to the DHCP server saying release the address. Now we're going to bring the interface back up, and now it's going to ask for the F for an address. So you're going to see your DHCP discover is sent out off port 67, and then it gets a request back from the server. And then the offer, and then that was given by the server, and then the acknowledgement, and then you have the IP address. All right, done. So let's check it for just a good measure. If config, boom. Right. Now let's say you have other interfaces and some interfaces are not active. Are you going to see them if you just issue the command if config? The answer to that is no. In order for you to see all of your interfaces, active and non-active, you're going to type in if config-a, which is if config-all interfaces. Type that out, and it shows you the interfaces. Because I don't have any inactive interfaces, it's just going to show me the ones that I have active. Okay. Now we're good with that, but let's say now we want to make this change permanent. So in order for us to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to edit a file, right? I know you're sick and tired of editing files, but it's the nature of Linux. So sudo nano, or your whatever preferred Emacs or VI, whichever one you prefer, etc network, that's where the directory is, and then the interfaces, right? We're going to go into that, and now here it is. So you see your local, it's already identified the local loopback network interface, and then the primary network interface, right? So here's what we're going to do. So this auto ENS3 means it's going to auto turn on. This interface ENS3 INET DHCP obviously is going to look for DHCP. So let's change that to static because we're going to set it and it's not going to change, right? Now we set it to static, and now what we're going to do is we're going to identify the IP address. Address 172.16.100 dot, I don't know, 100. Let's do 100, right? Now we're going to identify the net mask. Net mask 255.255.255.0. Now let's identify the gateway. It's going to be 172.16.100.1, right? Now, here's the pieces that we need to get to. Um, we want to do a DNS search. Now, DNS search, all it really is when you do a ping or um, a yeah, you could do a ping, or you're trying to access telnet or SSH to a device, and you're within your own domain. Then you don't have to type in the entire fully qualified domain name. In other words, if Google was your domain, you don't have, and you wanted to reach the web server www.google.com, you don't have to type in www.google.com. You can just simply type your command and Google, and that's it, right? And I'll get to show you here in a second. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the DNS server, DNS name server. If we're going to do a search, we have to know where we're searching from, right? And that is this server right here. Now, I have a DNS that I put together here. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify it. It's 172.16.100.53. Now you can have secondary servers. Let's say I want to have the Google server. There's the Google server, or your secondary DNS server. Whichever ones you want, you can continue to add it. And then since we're all done with this, we're going to Control X, and we're going to save changes and then done, right? Now, let's see what happens if we shut down the interface and we bring it back up, okay? If config to confirm that nothing has changed. And now we're going to do if down. ENS3. Oh, forgot. Sudo. Right? Cannot assign a requested address because it already has an address. So let's see what happens when we do up. Okay. If config. What's going on? I don't understand. Why do we have 172.16.100.209? Well, here's what you're going to end up having to do. You're going to have to restart the networking service. So in Ubuntu, what you're going to type in is sudo service networking and then restart. Now, if restart doesn't work, you're going to do a shut and then start. Right? If config. Now it still says that. So let's ping. Let's try to ping 172.16.100.100. Wait a minute. How are we accessing that? I don't understand. What's going on? Well, what's going on is there's a little bit of trickery that's going on behind the scenes. It doesn't update. It isn't updated onto your system. The address exists on your interface, but you don't currently see it. Now, if you look at when I type in IP adder, you see both interfaces, right? The first thing that you're going to see is INET 172.100.209, and you're going to see scope global of ENS3. Now you're going to see a secondary, which is 100.100, and you're going to see a global scope of secondary. Now let's try to stop the service and see what happens. Right? There's nothing. Right? And now you see it's still there. It for whatever reason, even though your interface is active with the IP address, currently the system will not default to that address, because it still has a lease, right? So what happens if we flush it out? Sudo IP adder flush ENS3. If config, there's nothing going on. So let's try turning the interface off. Right? Turning the interface back on. And now you see that the interface came back up and it has the proper IP address. Do we have the proper route is the other question, right? Because we have to get out somewhere, and we do. See? So there it is, folks. That's how you configure your interface. That's how you do some troubleshooting as well. And hopefully this video has been very informative for you. If you like the video, please hit like, and support us. If you didn't like the video, please leave a comment in the bottom to let us know how we can make the video better. I appreciate the time that you took for watching this video, and God bless. Bye bye.